I'm Monica Garcia, President of the LAUSD Board of Education, and welcome to Families Matter. Joining me today are my co-hosts, Maria Casillas, the Chief of School, Family, and Parent Community Services, and Board Member Nury Martinez. Our goal is to provide information so families can help their children graduate and stay safe in school. Today's topic is about young male students and what we can do to improve their academic achievement. Our focus is on young men of color, but solutions will benefit all. Joining us shortly to discuss this subject will be Marquise Harris-Dawson, President and CEO for Community Coalition, and Josh Ham, a student at Manual Arts and a member of Community Coalition. But first, a chance for us to talk today about the latest regarding LAUSD and the Family Parent Services. Buenas tardes. Maria, what's happening at Parents and Family Services?
Well, we are very busy, very, very busy indeed, because we are at the final steps of preparing for this major event for families, and it's a Family Parent Summit. And it is an opportunity for families to accompany their middle school and high school students to a university campus. Awesome. So that they can experience what university life is like, so that they can learn a little bit more about the college going process, get inspired by technology that is going to be there. Microsoft is our major sponsor for this event, and they will have a wonderful robotics exhibit. So it's going to be fabulous for these kids. So I want every family to really pay attention through their school so that they can enroll. We're going to have to enroll families because we can only handle about 2,500 at the University of Southern California. And it's May 5th. Our families will know that Cinco de Mayo is a very special event for us in the Latino community. So that day we're going to celebrate the college-going process, the whole idea that we want every one of our children to make it to college, and our staff and schools and everyone will be there to accompany them. So we're really, really happy about this.
And how are you getting the word out? Are parents encouraged to sign up early? Because I assume it's first come, first served.
It's first come, first served. We've sent information to every single school. We are, in the next few days, sending a beautiful poster that, by the way, was designed by one of our students, a female student, if you can believe this. Alicia Soto from Ramon Cortines High School. So she did this beautiful poster, and we'll bring it next time so that you can see what that's about. But this Family Summit on May 5th at USC from about 9 to 3. I'm not sure if we're starting a little bit earlier, but families can drive there, or we're going to have buses for those that sign up. So the best thing is for them to sign up now through their local schools, and to remember that it is targeting middle school and high school parents and their family and their children, obviously. But we are going to also have a very special event for other families, and I want to tell you just a little bit about that. It is going to be held on April the 28th at the Ramon Cortines High School, which is right on Cesar Chavez and Grand. A wonderful place. You can come there by subway, by metro, by bus. Very friendly for people who don't drive. You can actually take public transportation to get there. And that one is a Family Arts Summit. So we're going to really look at careers in the arts.
Oh, right.
As you might know, the #1 employer in the Los Angeles area are companies that are related to the entertainment business. So these are art-based jobs. And many people think that the arts really are like extra. You know, if you want to do all of this and then you can do art, well, that's fine. But actually, music, the arts, all of the 4 or 5 different forms of arts, depending on whether you see the media arts as one of the arts, are really, really important to our children, because this is where the jobs are. And the jobs of the future will not go away in Hollywood land, so they're going to be around.
And it's not only the jobs in front of the camera, but all the jobs that are created behind the camera.
Right.
The makeup artists, the hairstylists, I mean, everything from catering.
I mean,
who
who put your lipstick on today?
A wonderful woman named Sean.
Yeah, a makeup artist, right?
Our makeup
Yeah,
artist.
but you know, Maria, Nury has also fought for the arts throughout the district, and she opened a new art school over in the valley. But,
Carlos Santana.
but you have an experience where you personally had an arts curriculum, right?
Yes, I had a very enriched arts curriculum when I was in high school. I was very lucky. I was a part of a program. I was the experimental class back in 1989.
my gosh, you were just a
Humanitas.
child.
No, well,
Yes.
yeah. And so that was 20 years ago. But it was Humanitas with a focus in the arts.
In the arts,
So
right.
everything that we learned from history to science to government was all focused around the arts and the different types of.
Well, that's wonderful. And so our
times in
parents
our
should know
country,
that
right.
the arts are so important. So we're going to focus on the arts
That's
on
great.
April 28th. On May 5th, we're going to focus on STEM-based careers, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is why we're going to sort of shift towards middle and high school students, but arts for all over at
And I love the new name of your the summit. Families.
Families, yes.
Families.
Because
Summit.
we used to invite just the parents. And I thought, well, maybe it would be a good idea if we took the partnership, the
That's right.
families with, which includes our children.
Right.
And so that's what.
Awesome, awesome. So May 5th, we're going to invite families to get involved over at USC and to come to the Family Parent Summit. And then on April 28th, we want to have folks come in for the arts program at Cortinas.
Cortinas High
The Arts
School.
Festival, is that what we
Yes,
called it?
Arts Summit.
Arts Summit.
Family Arts Summit.
And we want families to know that they need to take a TDAP shot for all the 7th graders.
Oh, I forgot. Yes, because this coming year we're going to start early in August, and entering 7th graders need to have this famous TDAP. It's very important.
TDAP
It's a
vaccine.
very important vaccine. And we'll talk a little bit more in all our upcoming programs.
Very
about
good.
it.
We'll be right back with Marquise Harris Dawson and Josh Ham. ¿Está bien? ¿Está bien? Ya nos pusieron.
I don't think you know what up. She won't crush your village, women, children, just like Howard Duck. We don't need no violence in the city, no more smoking guns. Try to be the man you need, but you just ain't close enough. Try to keep it all a secret. I wrote this is for my truck. Trust in me, the hero of the world, not that bogus stuff.
Today is Democracy Day. We're making sure that all the high school students who will be 18 before our election get registered to vote, because we want their voices to be heard in the elections that are coming up. People under the age of 30 are the fastest growing group of voters.
What do we want? Democracy! When do we want it? Now!
I think it's super important because I don't think we do enough to promote the rights that we have as community members and as young youth. And so looking forward to making an impact. And the biggest impact I think you can make is to be able to practice and exercise your right to vote.
Register! Register!
It was an incredible process to listen to educators and, most important, to parents. Parents are just desperate to see some reform for homework.
I did have a kid in the bag. I pull it out. I pull him out because it was just too much work. Even looking at these guidelines, I was saying, well, when I get this boy home, he's 5, 6 o'clock. If we follow this, that means it's 10 o'clock before he gets through. I mean, that's with everything going smooth.
We are in an age where it's so important that family time is on the weekends and that kids get involved in the arts and in athletics after school, and there just has been too much homework. Too much of a child's grade has been based on homework. And so this bulletin comes out to help set a time limit and a % of the overall grade.
For elementary, we did lower it a little bit. So we're saying that the kindergarten maximum homework should be 10 minutes a night. That doesn't include the daily reading that might be taking place anyway.
And it really comes from listening so carefully to parents who have said there's just too much time for homework.
Welcome back to Families Matter. Joining us now are Marquise Harris Dawson, President and CEO of Community Coalition, and Josh Ham, a student at Manual Arts and a member of Community Coalition. Welcome, gentlemen.
It's good to be here.
All right, tell us about this important campaign.
Well, Community Coalition, along with a few other organizations throughout Southern California, all the way down to Long Beach, are working on a campaign to try to impact in a positive way the experience of African American, Latino, and Asian American boys, especially at school, and especially as it relates to what we refer to as the prison pipeline. So the process where kids at a very early age get profiled and targeted, and sort of in a systematic way move towards prison and away from being productive parts of our community.
Wow, that is so important. Josh, how have you been involved in this?
Well, I've been involved recently in the Boys and Men of Color Committee on March 2nd hearing, and just trying to get the word around to our youth and trying to educate them about what's going on in our community, what they can do to change it, and how they can better themselves, and just stressing to the legislators and stuff, like what type of policies they should pass to like help us build like alternatives for the youth instead of sending them out or kicking them out. And just like Marquis says, like they're making them systematic, you know, getting them like prepared for prison instead of for school.
And Marquis, you've been involved at LAUSD trying to help this organization respond to our communities. When we think about the graduation rate, the dropout rate, how do you make sense of that with the prison pipeline? How do you talk about schools and its relationship to that?
Well, over time, having worked with young people and on education for so long, you figure out that you can predict fairly early on what students are likely to end up in long-term incarceration. And you know, the foster care population is the most vulnerable starting out in school because the foster care system doesn't always communicate as good as they should with the school system and vice versa. So kid walks into school, a lot of times their teacher doesn't even know that they're in foster care or that they've lost a parent to incarceration or something like that. Then the foster care system works with the probation department, and the probation department has increased cooperation with the school district, and so all of these systems kind of working together, folks get caught in the middle of them and don't have parent advocates to really come in and fight for them, and it's easy for them to get lost in the criminal justice system.
We actually has probation officers as our dean at our school.
Oh, and you go to Manual Arts, right?
Yeah, Manual Arts High School, yes.
So Josh, what made you get involved with Men of Color, with the Men of Color campaign? And how has it changed your life?
Well, the coalition actually asked me to be involved in it, and they did see me like, I guess, putting in work for the coalition and just trying to get things pushing for the youth and stuff. So they just asked me one day, would you like to be in it? And I really wanted to be in it to just like, and I actually found out that parents and youth were going to be there, so I actually wanted to like spread the word to other people in the community because a lot of people don't know what's going on in our schools and they need to know.
And how are young men responding to the campaign on your campus? Are you a student organizer for the campaign, or how are you relating to other young men?
Oh, we actually have this program on campus called MAYA, Manual Arts Youth Empowered Through Action, and it's a program.
Say that one more time.
Manual Arts Youth Empowered Through Action.
Manual Arts
Youth Empowered Through Action. Yeah, it's pronounced MAYA, and we have it every Wednesday. We have it at lunch. We just talk to the youth. We have snacks for them and stuff because, you know, a lot of the food at the school is not good at all. We just get them like juices and chips and stuff like that. Talk to them. What would you guys like to change in your community? What would you want? What other alternatives should they have for the youth? They get sent out of the class and things they want for the school to make it more desirable to go.
So besides having programs or mentoring programs on campus, what can families do to better support their young men? It's tough to be a youth nowadays. Very different from when we were growing up. I'm not trying to age myself, but it's very different. I think there's a tremendous amount of pressure.
That's right.
Not only through the media and through other stuff that goes on in the community, but it's very different than when we were growing up.
Well,
what can we do?
I think that's right. I think it's very different. The world has certainly changed, and for just an example, something I didn't realize. For the students that are in high school now, they've grown up in a time where the United States has been at war the entire time they've been at school. Right. It's just unheard of in the history of this country. And so the acceptance of violence and the acceptance of this kind of aggression is broader than it's been at any other time in history. We think that the answer in a broad way is relationships. We think that's what stops students from getting profiled. We think that's what stops students from falling through the cracks. We think that's what stops people from creating cracks so students can fall through them. We think it's about relationships, and if our schools can be systematic about creating environments like small learning schools where each student has a relationship, whether they're a foster care student, whether they're a student that's been in and out of trouble already, if folks have got a relationship and people are caring about what happens to them, we feel like a lot of this will go away. And there's systems and programs that can put that in place, but it also has to be a value shift. So people have to think of their job at the school. I think this applies to every adult, from the janitor to the secretary to definitely to the teachers and principals. You got to have relationships, and we feel like that's the only way to turn this thing around.
Right. You know, we are this particular production is geared towards families. We claim families matter. So when kids don't have their families there, they still matter, and they ought to matter to everyone in that school. And I think that's why it's so important to get the word out, in particular to the adults in the school, and like you said, in probation, and all the systems that interconnect to help children, because. If for whatever reason a child is in this situation, other people can step in and act as a family. That's really important, I think, even for our students and their families who know of people who need to have a family. They can be so important just to reach out, to talk to their neighbor, to reach out to these kids so that they don't feel so alone, and so that they have that caring adult in their life. I think that's the important thing, to make sure they have that.
It also really stops us from profiling, which I think is one of the big problems. Is certainly what we're seeing in Florida with the case, where somebody looks at someone and makes a decision, right? So when there are relationships in place, if Josh is having a bad day and he comes to school and he's grumbly, well, if a teacher goes to another teacher and say, you know, I'm having this kid Josh won't respond to me, which I know you never do. That person can say, well, I know Josh really well. He's a good kid. He's an actor. Probably, you know, something's going on, and that's why he's upset. And so you don't get to the next step of, well, he won't respond to me. He's being defiant. He's doing this. We have to discipline. Yeah, right.
Right. Can you talk about that? Tell me, how is it different to be in a group of men specifically, like in the Maya program? You invite young men to get together and have conversations.
It's girls there.
Oh, it's girls too.
Yeah. But what I was saying, I went to comment on what he was saying. We have a lot of that going on at our school, actually. You come into the class, you might not be feeling it one day. Just like you said, you might not have a parent, one parent home or something like that. You come in, might feel down, and the teacher might not be feeling it that day neither. You be sitting there, you might put your head down, and they'll ask you what's going on. Or if you're not going to do no work, you can get out of here. You know, just like someone's anger, and it's like, you don't know what's going on with the kids, so don't provoke them, because they might end up yelling, like, don't talk to me like that, and then you end up having an argument, and all that start to build up. But then you get sent to the dean, you sit there, they don't give you none of the work really like that neither. So if, you know, you cursing at me or yelling at me, or you're not getting the work, so you're going to be failing. And it's just like, come on, like, you know. And then that can really affect you too, because sometimes like midterms, finals, you know, anything can be going on. But they don't care as long as they get their paycheck.
Teachers to help them, and what's the best message you give to teachers about this?
Well, you know, we want to work with teachers because we know nobody signs up to be a teacher to put kids out, right? That's not what anybody does. And so we want to express the importance of relationships, and then want to raise the issue of profiling, because profiling is something we do without thinking about it. You realize after the fact that you've made a decision about someone or some situation without knowing anything about it. And so one, helping teachers raise their consciousness, two, making them aware of the problem, and then three, the biggest thing we think we can do for teachers is make it so that there are alternatives on campus for young men in particular, but for all students. If students having a bad day, or maybe they're being disruptive this particular trust, we've gotten to a situation where the first thing now is we suspend them, right? Because schools are under pressure for test scores, as they, you know, for improvements, as they should be. But what that means is a lot of times the time that we might have taken in the past to deal with a student, we don't take. And so we need the resources to put those programs back on campus.
Now, according to, there was a report that was recently released by the U.S. Department of Education, the Office of Civil Rights. And in the report, it talks about men of color less likely to receive rigorous curriculum in high school, most likely to be suspended and expelled. So this is a real call to action, not only for the school districts across the country, but also to families and young men like yourself, that we have to do better, not only to provide you with a high quality education, but to be able to catch this and be able to give you the resources and support that you need, no matter what is happening in your life, to be able to overcome that and be successful in life. And so that, do you have any comments about, did you get a chance
Yeah,
to
we have
review
gotten
that?
gotten the report and read it, and we're actually a part of pushing the Department of Education to actually look into this issue here in LAUSD. On the hard side is LAUSD is by far the worst big city school district on this question of suspension and expulsions, and disproportionality between their African Americans' representation in the population and the amount of suspensions and expulsions that they are. The other thing that we want to do, and we're going to ask for the district's help on this, we want a correlation between the people who are getting suspended and expelled and who doesn't graduate, right? Because we've been very concerned about what we've called the disappearance rate. We called it that purposely because we didn't know if the people were dropping out or being pushed out. And if it's something where adults are inviting kids to leave school, we feel like we can do better than that. And perhaps among those people are people who can in fact complete high school.
Well, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, what I see and what I like to see, if you see a kid in class as a teacher, if they're not participating or giving their all in class, you know they usually do, I feel like you guys need to address that, you know, and nick it in the butt before they fall through the cracks, you know what I'm saying? So they should have like a little program or something, or some counseling for students instead of sending them to the dean, so they can feel like somebody actually cares about them, because a lot of people don't have that support system in their families, and I feel like we need to build that, I guess, like that family bond with our teacher, like, you know, be able to know them. They know your name, they know who you are, they know what type of person you are. So if they feel like you're not giving your all, you're not doing your work today, they should be like, oh, what's going on? You want to go see the counselor, you want to talk after class, instead of like, oh, you're not doing your work, so you need to get out, you know? And just like build up that relationship with the student and the teacher.
And you know, I started off my career as a high school teacher, and I had, in those days, I thought it was a lot of kids. I had 150 or 160 kids. And how do you personalize? I understand the challenge that teachers face daily. How do you really personalize so that every single student actually can connect with you and you with that student? And that can be a challenge, but it can be done. I still remember, you know, my students from way back when I had hair like yours and very young and energetic, right? But I think today the situation is much more of a crisis situation, and that our board has to really act more aggressively, I think, in response to the needs that Marquise has so eloquently stated. Because we're losing too many children, and we have a very high tolerance for this loss because it happens so often.
Right.
And we just shouldn't let it happen anymore.
And
And I'm with you.
I want to get back to the, you know, just having grown up in a whole different time. I recall, so we used to do so much around women and young women and teenage pregnancy when I was growing up, and not that we still have to do more for women, but I feel like we sort of forgotten about the boys in our neighborhoods, and I see them, you know, every day, you know, just I see that there's something missing. We're either not challenging them enough, we're not supporting them enough, and there's a whole group of young men that we're losing every single year to violence, to gangs, to incarceration. And we need to sort of call it's a call to action for all of us to save our men in our neighborhoods.
And you know, quite frankly, I don't think this is just a problem, say, where Community Coalition works, which is in the South Side.
No.
It might be more prevalent, but Los Angeles is diverse all over the place. And so you might have a family, say, in Canoga Park, who is African American or Latino, or in Woodland Hills, or, you know, in other neighborhoods, Woodland Hills, wherever, and they may stand out a little bit more. So it's easy to profile and to make assumptions. So I think this is really a system-wide issue that really hardens more in the core of the inner city, if you will, what we used to call that.
One of the fascinating things about the report that the Department of Ed did, the Office of Civil Rights, was that the schools that took in a lot of students from busing, their numbers on suspensions and expulsion were actually much sharper. The schools, particularly in the Valley and the West Valley, their numbers were greater, more disproportionate than the schools in our community.
The schools that were sending them there.
Exactly,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So, you know, you'll have a high school where
So you lose points for traveling.
Exactly. 5% of the population is African American boys at a school, and 49% of the suspension and expulsions are African American boys. So, like, you know, that's the kind of thing where you rightly point out that it's a
everywhere.
city. Yeah. It's a citywide program, and you know, this is one of those things where, you know, as organizers, we're good about, you know, making good guys and bad guys and all this. This is one of these things where profiling is absolutely American. It's impossible for you to grow up here and you don't learn certain people are bad people and other people are good people, and we have to work to unlearn it. And so we want to be sensitive to that, and we want to assume that everybody wants to do the right thing, and that help is needed, and attention needs to be brought to the issue for people to correct their behavior.
So absolutely bringing awareness to it, and what I heard today is relationships, right? Engaging young people in the conversation. How do you feel? How is it going? Not jumping to a judgment. Very, very important. And then raising this issue of just the gender specifics around, we know in LA Unified 56% graduation rate. We have to do better than that. We're leaving a bunch of kids out of all genders and of all across the district, but really talking about it for all families to have a conversation. What is happening at my school? How do the boys fare? Who is helping? What do we do about it, right? That is just so critical for us.
That's right. I mean, and that's why I think this show is so important. Because it's titled Families Matter, right? And so anybody who's a member of a family, you want the whole family to be whole, right? You want your brothers to be doing good, your sisters to be doing good, the senior, your grandparents to be doing good, the babies to be doing good, and so we just got to work at it until we can get all sectors going.
I want to invite you both to a conference that I think this is going to be the third year, or the second year that we do it. It's called Adelante Hombre. It's in the Valley. It's at Panorama High School. It was organized by a friend of mine whose brother is in jail. And her siblings, all women, graduated from Berkeley, UCLA, and her brother didn't fare that well. So she has a real calling to organize around, men of color issues. And so we do an Adelante Mujer conference every year. We've been doing it for the past 10 years in the Valley. But this is the second year that we're going to do it around men.
Excellent.
And young men and role models, and bringing in role models from in and around the neighborhood to talk to the young men and tell and be there as a support. A support
I
network.
think that's wonderful, and I really hope that you can make it and bring some of your other colleagues, your other friends from school, and I know Marquise knows the whole world, and so he'll be there. And Panorama High School is a new school, so it's got an opportunity to start things fresh too.
I'm very proud of their efforts,
Anyway, and I'm sorry to say that our time is up because Marquise and Josh, we could be here forever talking to you, so we're going to have to stop at this point. And we want to thank you for joining us on Families Matter. Please visit our websites, families.lausd.net and parentaccess.lausd.net. Remember that your involvement makes all the difference. So we'll see you next month, and remember, families really, really matter. So long.